I want you guys to take a listen to some comments that Mr. Stephen A. Smith said on First Take this morning about the Jackie Robinson West Little League controversy that's going on. And I want you guys to pay attention to his ideologies on when racism should be brought to the forefront. And I'm playing this from my TV because I want you guys to listen to every single word that this character had to say this morning.
That gives me cause to pause and say, okay, let's investigate this further. I think that going the route of race is a bit extreme. I think that it's something that I'm one of those black folks that can we make sure we use it when it really counts? Can we make sure we use it when there is concrete, unequivocal evidence that, yo, this is what it is? Okay, don't give us any of this other nonsense, all right? Because when you do, when you bring it up so frequently and so easily, then ultimately the argument of race falls on deaf ears, and we're not doing anybody any good, particularly the kids on the come up, aspiring for great things, handing folks an excuse as to why they can't get as far as they can get and they can't be all they can be because we're so willing to bring up race at every turn. We've got to be careful about that. So that's where, Skip, my hesitation lies. But when I'm doing my radio show on Mad Dog and every weekday, and these folks are calling in yesterday, and they're talking about, wait a minute, you got folks that are living directly across the street from one another, but they're sent to a different school district. These geographical lines that y'all are talking about is problematic. When they're talking about those who are desolate and deprived and living in under impoverished circumstances, and how it's difficult for them to get from point A to point B, and how you're searching for miles upon miles just to find a place to play baseball. To me, those are things that need to be looked into.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there. You know, first of all, I thought Stephen A. Smith, his ideology and what he said towards race regarding this incident with the Little League, the young brothers that was just recently in this controversy with the whole Little League thing, and ultimately getting the championship taken away from him. I thought he was completely off. And Stephen A. Smith has this idea that, oh, well, if there's not any direct resemblance of racism, then we can't talk about it. Listen here, Mr. Stephen A. Smith. We are in 2015. Racism is not, actually, nowadays you have to be actually more, I would say, intelligent about racism. You have to keep your eyes and ears open about racism, because racism today in 2015 in America is more institutionalized. We're now walking outside of our homes and we got to sit on the back of the bus. Or we go outside and we see a whites only or a blacks only water fountain. Those days are over to a certain extent. Racism is more institutionalized nowadays. We got it within the prison industrial complex and how they're targeting young black males to go in that system. We have it through education. We have it through the work field. We have it through politics, and etc., etc. So for Mr. Stephen A. Smith to come out here and say if there's not direct, I guess, resemblance of racism, I guess if somebody will come out and say, hey, you black nigger, we don't want you playing baseball in our neighborhood, so we're going to strip your title away. I guess they have to actually come out and use those words in order for Stephen A. Smith to say it's racism. And, you know, Stephen A. is one of those blacks who has, you know, caught a level of success, or what he would consider, or American standards of being considered the American dream. And he's somewhat, because of that, he's somewhat ignorant about what really goes on here in society. Okay, people are not always coming out. Well, actually, nowadays they have been coming out because of, you know, just resorting back to President Obama. Just people just being more bold. They're coming out and just saying, hey, nigga, we don't like you. We saw it with Paula Dean. We saw it with Donald Sterling, and I can go on and on. But the racism that affects black folks seriously in this country right now is more institutionalized. And I thought, you know, you're dead wrong to come out here and say that race had nothing to do with this incident. And then he tried to use the ideology that, oh, well, when we bring up race, we're giving excuse for these young black boys to feel like they're inadequate or they can't achieve certain things in this country. No, that's the opposite of what we're doing. When we bring up race, when those have common sense and understand what's going on out here and can read and pick up when racism is involved and how race takes place in this country, we're fighting against racism because we want a future for these young black boys. We don't want things like this and racism to stop these boys to achieve their maximum potential here in this country. So I think that Stephen A. Smith was dead wrong for his comments. And he's known for coming out here saying coon and shit. Let's be real. But, you know what I mean? I had to come out here and do this video because I'm sitting back. And, I was checking out First Take before I head out to work. But, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous some of the things that comes out of this guy's mouth. And the white guy on the show, Skip Bayless, he stands up and understands the black struggle here in this country more than Stephen A. Smith. And he's not even a black male or a black American. Then you had Kerry Champion when he did mention the whole thing about race, and race had nothing to do with this incident. You had a black woman back saying, yep, because she's another one of those Negroes who don't understand when racism is in your face unless somebody actually comes out and call you a nigger. Or somebody directly says, we don't want to be in contact with you, or we don't want you in our establishment because you are black. These are the type of Negroes that have gotten to a certain level in this country and they've forgotten how racism is played here in this country. We all want to be successful. We all want to achieve certain heights and break certain barriers. But we also can't forget where we come from. I consider myself somebody who has, been successful, comes from a certain environment, was able to bust his ass through education and just having hustle and ambition and getting to a certain level. I consider myself a success, but I also don't forget where I come from. I also don't forget that there is blatant racism and institutionalized racism here in this country. But you guys give me your feedback on, this whole controversy that's going on in the comments by Mr. Stephen A. Smith. I'm out.